Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I want to talk about artifact weapons from Legion, and I also want to talk about Legion Remix and why maybe there is a chance that we will be able to get some classless artifact weapons in Legion Remix. So all these different weapons, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with them, are obviously linked to your class. So it means that you can only get the ones that are specific to your class. And this is something that of course is a little bit annoying because some of these weapons are some of the best in the game, but it makes sense because all of them are really catered to each class, and so that's why these different weapons are class specific. I think one of the best examples is of course the Paladin one with Ashbringer, because this is Ashbringer, so it makes sense that Paladins are the only ones really that can use this weapon, even though we did get, for instance, Corrupted Ashbringer back in Vanilla WoW. But so this is something that was the case since Legion. It's still something that is the case right now. If you want these different weapons, you can still farm them over than the removed appearances from the Mage Tower. But for all the other ones, you can still farm them and you will be able to get them for each of your different classes. However, based on some recent findings from the 11.2 PTR, there might have a chance that in Legion Remix it won't be the case anymore. So as you can see, one of the different appearances for Death Knights is this weapon right here. So this is the appearance that normally only Death Knights can get, and this is something that is still available right now in the game. And in the games file, we were able to find this item right here, the Festering Sight. So as you can see, this is a cosmetic item, two-handed polearm. And it says it will add this appearance to your Warband collection. There's no limit in terms of the class restriction or anything like that. And this is the exact same model as this weapon that you can get from Legion for Death Knights. So this is something that might just be a placeholder. It might just be a mistake from Blizzard and something that probably later they will change. Who knows? But if it's an actual weapon that we might be able to get at some point, it shows that we will basically be able to get some of these different artifact weapons without the class restriction anymore, and it means that basically you will be able to use this weapon on any class that can use a polearm, which I think is pretty crazy. So basically it would really open up the way people see these different weapons, because right now again a lot of players are limited to the different weapons from their class, but probably they love some of the other weapons. Here I'm thinking again about the Ashbringer. Some really cool appearances are linked to the Ashbringer, and so if you can in Legion Remix or through other ways to get some of these different weapons, but this time unlock them for all the different characters that can use this type of weapons, I think it would encourage even more players to interact with this and to try and unlock as many weapons as possible, simply because again, some of these weapons are some of the best looking weapons we have in the game. Of course, as I already mentioned, for some of the classes, it's gonna be a little bit tricky to justify doing that because again, the weapons are really specific to the class. Here again, I think the Ashbringer is one of the best examples. And so I'm not sure if really this is something Blizzard will do, because I'm sure some players will complain a little bit because it goes against the class fantasy. But more and more in today's version of World of Warcraft, the class fantasy is a little bit gone, because you can now basically use almost any armors as cosmetic armors. Even if you're playing on a clove character, you can have a full-on like plate set or something like that. So I don't think this is as strong as it was back in Legion, but still with these different weapons it might be a limit, and so who knows, maybe this is something that Blizzard is considering but not sure of. I would love to know what you think, and if personally you would be happy to have some of these different weapons be added as things that anyone can use. Personally, I don't really have an issue with that because, again, as I mentioned, I think there is no like so many ways you can basically use the appearances from other classes, such as the tier sets, over fantasy, transmog items, and other things, that I don't think this is too much of a big deal. But I could understand why for some people it's something that doesn't really make a lot of sense and why they wouldn't be so happy about it. But for instance, a good example about that is the recent Sylvanas transmog set. This is something you can literally use on any character, and normally it should be a transmog set only for hunters, or at least only for 4 seconds, but still this is something that absolutely anyone can use. So this is a very interesting find, and I can't wait to see if this is again just a placeholder, if it will change or not in the future, but if it doesn't, I think it will definitely attract even more people to Legion Remix, and it will provide even more incentives for players to interact with this new mode. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about this and if you would be happy or not with these different artifact weapons becoming classless with Legion Remix. I will be back very soon with more guides and more videos, and in the meantime I wish you all a great day. Bye!